It's 8:30. Morning, everybody. Let's get started. Do we have any public comments? Do we have any public comments? Any public comments? All right. We have minutes from October 21st.
Motion approved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, good morning, Dwayne.
Good morning, supervisors. Our bridge project begins today. They will be setting up traffic control this morning if they have not already started. The detour has been dust controlled and should be completely marked. So we'll get that ball rolling. The Iowa Department of Transportation has a maintenance concrete patching project that they're having the pre-construction conference on today. And as part of our agreement with them from when they redid the bridge at Richland, they will be reimbursing us for patching on Packwood Road from Packwood to the county line. So we're going to negotiate with their patching contractor that's doing their maintenance job to do that work. And then the DOT will reimburse us on that. And that should happen yet this fall. I'll know a little bit more later today. Then we're doing patches on the chip seals that new mini hoe, so new used mini hoe. That will be nice to get that stuff knocked out. And then we've also got ditching to finish at the twin tank car on 136 that we just installed. They started ditching, and with the new operator, he was a little over aggressive to start with. So we've got the ditches a little too deep to start and not at all where we need them to finish. So we go back and try and average that out and end up with more of a uniform ditch depth that doesn't look like you're looking down the Grand Canyon at the edge of the road. Then Thursday, I will be out helping my father with his post-treatment at the University of Iowa. So I'll work remote in the morning, and I'll pretty well have all afternoon tied up with him at the University of Iowa hospitals. I don't know, between him and my mother, it looks like I'll be spending a lot of time out. I don't know if I shouldn't get a personal or basically a personal cell phone for county business. So right now I don't give out my personal cell phone because I don't want people calling me on it, but I think if I'm going to be gone helping them, or most of it's just making sure they don't get lost at the university. Yeah. Because the hospitals are quite daunting for someone my age, let alone somebody pushing 90. Yep. But I should have a communication that people can get a hold of me if they need to.
Seems reasonable.
All right, well, I will.
Just finding your way out and back to the damn parking garage.
That place is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like was pretty over.
I know the different main carriers have government rates, so ask about that.
Okay, look into that. I think that's all I have.
Number 2, discuss and consider 2080 agreement with Keokuk County for sharing portable work zone traffic signals.
Yes, that is part of our grant stipulations, is that we have to share that with a neighboring county, and Keokuk was more than willing to jump on board with that. Stole somebody else's 2080 agreement, changed the wording,
And Chauncey's looked at it, or
yeah,
Elizabeth?
Elizabeth looked at it. She said it looked acceptable. once I figured out how to get Microsoft Word to not carry through all the changes, so you could see where I took my Haskell out and put Jefferson in. But I think it cleaned up all right, and then Abby and Shannon, did a good job of getting it so that the paper would publish it. So my thanks to Abby and Shannon for their help.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Just, oh, that's an old thing, okay. This one doesn't have necessarily anything to do with anything since January of 23, right?
That's the grant agreement, I believe that,
Okay.
it's referenced in the 2080 agreements and ran through the day.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't have any questions.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Or 2 copies now, Abby.
That's more a question for Dwayne.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Now, after you guys sign it, we'll effectively email a copy of it to Keokuk County for them to. I think Scott needs to sign that as well.
Okay.
You're
thank you.
welcome.
Morning,
Thank you.
Josh.
Good morning.
Meet with ambulance
Can I-
director.
I'm
Oh,
sorry, I
No, you're
apologize,
good.
but we have a joint construction agreement in our packet, but it doesn't appear to be on the agenda for,
Jefferson Henry.
yeah,
Yeah, that's not on the agenda?
No,
Oh. That could be.
can this wait until?
Yeah, they can. We're
November
not- we're-
12th.
Yeah, the project isn't going to happen until next year.
Our next meeting is gonna be November 12th unless something unforeseen comes up.
It's fine. We've just started, well, you guys approved the order of contract last week, so we've just started that procedure, so.
Okay,
We have plenty of time for the 2080 agreement with the county, but that just, again, we're the sponsor, the main sponsor of the project, so we will handle the payment through our farm to market account, and then our farm to market account will be reimbursed by Henry County's Henry County's farm to market account.
okay. So can we, let's get this on the agenda for the 12th.
you have a copy of it?
And the reason is because we usually don't have a meeting the week of the election. Because the auditor's office is extremely busy.
Well,
They are.
let's be more specific.
Okay, morning, Josh.
Good morning. How
Meet
are
with
you?
the ambulance director.
All right. Starting out to be a good day. We have an orientee here today. Everybody's in a good mood. I really do want to reiterate just how awesome the staff is. Things have been going really smooth. Everyone's volunteering to help and do extra things to make sure things are running smoothly. So just a kudos to all of the staff there. I don't really have a lot to discuss today. I think we have an applicant that we need to vote on to bring on. I did get another application over the weekend, just an individual from Tumwa, I think just looking for a PRN position as an EMT. So staffing is getting better faster than I thought it would. So again, I think everybody is bragging about the service and talking us up and bringing in their coworkers from other places, and things are good. So the only other thing I have to discuss is Formar. So they were here last week, and actually I think the job was bigger than they thought it was going to be.
Mm.
So the tech is going to be back. I don't remember if he said today or tomorrow. But the tech is gonna be here again sometime this week to hopefully finish up what's left to do. He got the boxes all installed and wired. The lock on the front door, one of the things had to be changed out on the front door. I'm not sure what else there is left to do. I know though he has to assign cards and get all those programmed. But other than that, hopefully soon, we should know, like I said, either today or tomorrow, he'll be.
I'd like I know it's a little extra work. I would like a real detailed invoice, whatever you want.
Yes, yep, and I will talk to him when he comes back. To see what else needed to be done with what was there, and then, because we did ask for another door to be secured and some other things, but what was there initially and what it would have taken for that part to be complete, separate from
Yeah, and that's fine.
the additions that we added.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, I'll see if he can come up with that. Yeah, so other than that, things are good. Things are running smooth.
So you're gonna, for the time being, run some double medics?
Yes. Yep. And I mean, if you guys are good with it, eventually I think what I would like to do, if we can hire or get everybody up to the paramedic level, run medic trucks. Is there any opposition to that?
Just a matter of, I mean, obviously, I guess how I would put it is, well, I would love to be able to say, we'll help with the going from an EMT to a medic, so to speak. I don't think that that's feasible on our part, so, you know, the length of time it takes for. And who does it now? Is Indian Hills even still doing it?
Indian Hills does still have a program. There are
I know
maybe some other,
Southeastern does, but
yeah.
I didn't know.
there may be some other options here in the future as
I
well.
think that
So.
could be a discussion for budget time to evaluate the pros and
I guess
cons.
you could try.
I agree with that.
And there's also
There's,
grants available to help do that.
yes,
Talk to some other ambulance directors, because I know when I was doing some research, there have been places that have gotten grants to help with
right,
that.
right. But yeah, I mean, just as far as like staffing the trucks, is it an issue to have paramedics all around?
My biggest
As far as
concern is
staffing?
not having staff.
Yeah,
Right, I think if we can get paramedics, that's fabulous,
Okay.
because I can't imagine any other service I've ever talked to that has too many paramedics.
right.
I mean, it's,
And I'm just asking the
And-
questions. so,
and
yeah.
again,
Yep,
I mean, I think once we gotta get the billing where it needs to be in that
Yes.
transfer agreement, so we're getting the revenue.
right. Yep.
But I think the main thing is that we're providing the excellent care, and you are, so
I
thank
think
you.
so. Yeah. The only other thing to discuss, I think it's on the agenda, is uniforms.
Yeah.
So we've been looking at uniforms. Our current uniforms are, I mean, they're okay. But we were looking for something that looks a little bit more professional, a little bit more community oriented. We have a black and orange. Everybody seems to like the black and orange uniforms, which I think definitely represents the community. The high school colors are black and orange.
I'm laughing because I was out there the other day and he showed them to me and I said, you realize, I know you're from Atoma.
Yeah, I
but
can.
You realize it's color.
I can wear black and orange, It's not red and white, but you know. But yeah, so everybody seems to really be on board with that. They like the uniforms, they like what we're proposing, so.
And he let them vote for them, which one?
Yeah,
He had
like
four of them and he's like, vote for it.
Yeah, because it's not just me making unilateral decisions. I want staff input because it's about them, so. I still have yet to get any any price quotes from anybody yet, but I've tried to gather up information to see how many uniforms we're gonna need and what sizes and that kind of stuff. We do have a line item for uniforms that I think has $700 in it. My estimate is gonna be about 1,500, and that's like top. But I need to know if it's okay to proceed with that, to at least get quotes and see what it's gonna cost.
I think you can get quotes, Joe.
Okay.
Cause you need some regardless.
Yeah. Yeah, our supply of spare uniforms is dwindling significantly, and we've got a bunch of new staff coming on, so.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt to look to see what we're talking about versus what we've got budgeted, but as far as making the decision till we see the costs.
That's fair. Yep, absolutely.
Anything else for us?
No,
Thank you.
yeah. No,
Number 3, discuss and consider hiring Craig Lidoff as a
Yes.
paramedic. CCP, Jefferson County Ambulance Service.
yeah, so he's currently working in
We
Henry
should
County.
lock the door.
And send out the patrol.
Continue.
Yeah, he's currently a paramedic in Henry County, wanting to come here full time.
Okay,
Motion to approve.
Second.
we have a motion and second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
How many full times does that make now on medics?
Yes.
Seven?
7?
I don't remember. I think so.
Can you put a list together for us,
Yes,
please?
I absolutely will. Yep.
So you hit the ground running, or does he have to go through?
I mean, we've got like a 3-shift orientation
Okay.
set up for everybody, and then those staff who need more, we'll put them through more, but that's just kind of getting them familiar with our process is really what that is. And he's been around for a long time. Probably 1 shift will be sufficient, but I still want to have that
No, that's.
standard.
Yeah.
So,
All right,
anything else for me?
Mhm.
All right.
thank you.
Yep.
All right,
Have a
moving
great
on.
Thanks.
Make us proud.
Oh, always.
General discussion regarding comp
Go
board
orange and
with
black.
recent law change. So a couple weeks ago, Janine and Gloria contacted me because they are the supervisor representatives, and Janine happens to be the chair of the former comp board. And I said, well, let's just put this on the agenda and have a general discussion, because everything has changed and nothing can have changed depending on. So it's my hope, in the past, it seems like the comp board and the supervisors have been set up to kind of butt heads a little bit, and I would hope we can work together in terms of everybody understanding we have budget constraints, but yet we want to be fair to our employees. So we can all together figure out how to go about doing that. That said, on Thursday, I sent out to the elected officials and the supervisors. ISAC had a webinar, I guess it was October 10th, that had several topics on it. But there was a short part on the county comp board. So from that, all comp boards dissolved as of July 1st, 24. And the Board of Supervisors here voted to reestablish it. And so I think what we want to do today is just talk about it. ISAC recommends drawing lots to determine 3 members to serve an initial term of 2 years in order to stagger terms. Are your terms 4 years now? Yes. So, and then they have a new provision known as show your work. And it's my understanding, and I know everybody's had like little different info, and Abby had some info, so I copied off a few copies of that. Gloria's got one on. Got one. Where? In one. Maybe you guys can share. That just is in general changes. And so. Do you want to come up here?
See, Joe, you go.
No, I'm just a pain in the butt here.
Oh, that's for damn sure.
That's right. Thank you.
Is this your calculator?
They said you might need that.
It's been here a while.
Oh,
It's collecting dust.
well, I think that, when I was here before and we talked, we've learned a lot more since then about what the legislation included as far as the comp board goes. And, as I had told you before, we in pretty finite detail go through counties information. And we always do a comparison of 5 above and 5 below, and we extrapolate that data and try to put that together so that we can sit down, and we use the ISAC data information that is provided to us. And then, as I told you before, we do some heavy duty number crunching in order to come up. And this is an example, my very rudimentary worksheet, but I told you about it. That we do, and it's not an easy extrapolation because you have to go through it and really work on getting all that information. So the things that we have learned from ISAC that we want on the table here for all of you is that even though, okay, I'll start with, when we do a recommendation, it comes after a lot of discussion. Taking a look at this, taking a look at individual positions. We have a lot of discussion about how much we appreciate all the people here, all of you and everybody else who are taking care of all of the rest of us. And we look at the CPI as well, just to have an idea of what's happening across the board before we make a determination. Each time we meet, we host 2 managers to explain to us a little bit more about the jobs that they do, so that we can have a little better internal understanding of what's happening on the county level when we go into it. So that being said, some of the high points that we picked up on from the presentation, which was very good ISAC presentation, the whole thing was actually, with your legislative, all of the things that you have to abide by are, number one, that we need to be able to, as a board, provide documentation of how we arrived at the discussion, realizing too, we have, and you do too, the legislation directly related to law enforcement that you factor a little bit on the side. But, and I will say too, that one year when we looked at everything and your salaries were in just, not in keeping with others, you all stepped to the plate and voted not to take a raise yourselves that year. Very, very powerful in that you did, that you really look at everything. So we found that now with the new legislation, that where it used to be, you had a percentage and it was across the board when you chose it, or when we stated that's what it was. That's no longer the case. You have the ability to lower that, which you've always had that ability, but you also now can raise that too. And the across the board appears to be gone now, that you can go by individual job descriptions to determine what you want to do moving forward with the compensation. And we all know, having worked with budgets myself for a good long while, that it's a fine line to be sure that all of the people that you work with know how valued they are and what's in the pot. What you can afford to put forth. So we just wanted really to talk today, and we thank Dee very much for inviting us to come and see what your thoughts are, given the new guidelines kind of changes the landscape a lot, not just a little bit, but a lot. Gloria, anything else that
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Well, I know,
Okay.
and your first words to me when you called me were, we'd like to meet earlier than we did last year. So thanks for bringing our new potential auditor that we'll know in a couple weeks.
I follow her.
So I asked Mark if,
Uh-huh.
so we've got the county attorney, treasurer,
And I've got a court at 9, so I didn't.
okay, auditor, and then I know the sheriff department's on. So we've got
Uh-huh.
some of the other
Cross
elected
section.
officials here. Just for a general discussion, but I know you wanted to meet earlier and I guess your minutes had reflected December 6th.
Yes.
And so at least my hope is I'd like to see it happen different this year, that maybe we could set wages early in the process rather than waiting till the end and we work the rest of the budget around that, because it seems like we kind of do it backwards, especially given last year, but that's just my thoughts.
Well, we had some input that budget went on for a longer period of time and.
And it
Yeah.
did because of the changes with House
Right.
File 718 and the change in the deadline. And I think it's helpful if people really know, and we all know it's gonna be tight again, but that way everybody will know what the increase will be, and, honestly, everybody's gonna have to work together to help make that up.
So I
Can I
can
say
get out of
something?
here in about 2 minutes.
Yeah,
but,
Chauncey, go.
I've reviewed the new legislation and it doesn't speak to kind of the elephant in the room, which is if you're meeting in December and there's an election where there's a change in administration, what happens to the representative from the prior elected official, and can the new elected official essentially put on somebody for that year? It's not entirely clear. What is clear is that if somebody's appointed, they take office in July, but because this is a brand new board, this is kind of the one and done problem that we're grappling with. It doesn't really state, so Scott's retiring, Chris doesn't have an opponent, it's not guaranteed that you're gonna win, but I think it's 99% chance that that's the case, right? If that does happen, I don't see anything that precludes you from essentially appointing a presumptive compensation board member. If you are the elected, if you're the auditor elect, I think you probably should have somebody on there to speak for your position, right? Because there is a statutory authority that comes with the board. They're gonna be setting your salary starting in July of the following year. So you do have some kind of interest in that process. So I would suggest that it's appropriate to have, if there is an election, have your representative on the board.
I would hope something like that could happen because the auditor's position in this county is the lowest elected official rank wise. So I would hope that we could have a comp board member to help advocate for the auditor's office, the auditor.
Wasn't there discussion with the auditor's office about potentially having the current auditor appoint whomever,
I don't,
appoint
I haven't had
compensation
that
board member?
conversation yet. But
but I think there was I believe that there's people in that office that are discussing the workaround,
Well, in any event, I mean,
includes the current auditor.
if somebody is an incumbent elect but hasn't taken the office, there is still an interest that they have in that comp board. So I would say this is the type of problem we're going to have once, and it's right now. But there's nothing that would preclude a official from appointing somebody to the compensation board. So
I mean, it
I
is,
said, I'm spaghetti.
I was just gonna say, it is, their salary that's gonna be determined, Christie's salary that's gonna be determined July 1st, so it feels like.
Yeah.
That should be able to be considered.
I think I
Sounds
said
reasonable.
address that.
Yeah,
And they said that if you have a board already presented, you could have, I think, that the current board member resign if someone new need to be placed, but we have an open slot for that position anyway. We have 2 positions. Should we continue with the current compensation board situation to fill? Because of course we lost our dear Melva as well.
and it
Well,
seems,
it states right here, changes to the membership of the county compensation board, and I don't know, first paragraph, second paragraph. Because all county compensation boards are dissolved by operational law, these appointments will need to be made. A compensation board is established. It's basically each and every one of them has been will need to be reestablished.
Which they start, some of the elected officials have done that.
And that's fine. What I'm simply saying is that to my way of thinking, then the question becomes auditor, elect, or auditor, or a combination of all of the above or whatever, but that appointment should come from, as far as I'm concerned, basically, yeah.
And it seems that, I mean, it will need to come to this board, but we'll need to, do that like mid-November, I would say, if we can, November 12th or the,
What needs to come before you?
I was gonna say, we've never
So-
had authority to appoint, that's always the elected.
don't we
official.
do the overall one?
Nope.
Because it's
No.
new, okay.
The only one we
You
appoint.
So we do
is-
ours then.
Two representatives.
You
Okay.
We hope-
established,
That you guys will continue. You too.
Okay.
But my rep already volunteered to cover the 2 year, so they stepped
Oh, okay.
on with my,
It seems that probably your board, the whole comp board can figure out the 2-year, 4-year thing,
Yeah, I would say you guys can draw your lots or.
however you choose to do that.
That'd be up to you.
But it would be nice to know by November 12th or 18th, maybe, if you're gonna meet on the 6th of,
Get
December.
Information out to everybody and maybe even talk with the representatives, although. You
See,
folks
just
all know what we do.
Common sense and logic dictates to me that it comes from,
right, from them,
well, but I mean. The auditor elect as opposed to.
right, yeah,
I think historically, that's how it's been. I know this is a little different situation.
no,
for
that's,
elect, but-
that's fine, I mean, and each representative needs your, point your own.
mine carried over.
And we have the terms here in front of us as well too. With our
Oh, good.
information sheet. If you need a copy zipped or something of that, so you can have that.
Your auditor representatives term goes up to 2027.
Okay, anything
That might.
else we need to,
Can I ask a question?
sure, that's why we're here.
Sure.
Cost
Make sure
a
that I'm-
quarter.
Huh?
Cost a quarter.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not gonna swear.
Okay.
None of the swear jar out. So just so I understand this correctly, the compensation board would meet on December 6th. They would make their determination at that point. Then they come to you guys and make the recommendation. And at that point, you guys basically between the comp board and the supervisors, they say, this is the percentage that we're looking at. Okay, let's look at the treasurer. Here's what we recommend. You guys then make a determination. Here's the auditor. Here's our recommendation. Here's what you guys think. Are you guys going each elected at a time?
We'll see what the comp board comes up with. They may decide to do everything the same. They may,
Well, the reason why I ask
Decide
is you guys
difference.
now have the ability to go up or down for anyone. So we're not tied to each other anymore.
see what the data shows. I mean, yeah, I don't know that we know the answer to that question. It's a good question.
The only one that would possibly be different than the other elected officials would be the sheriff because of the stipulation of law enforcement.
And I personally, this is no disrespect to law enforcement or our sheriff or anybody in that regard, but just looking at it generically, that's like a dog chasing its tail. When it's defined by like size and counties and all that other stuff and Sheriff X gets 400% increase, well, then you've got to meet everybody's got to be in this. That's like a dog chasing its tail. That legislation makes no sense. But it's not about, from my perspective, about compensating our law enforcement. I'm not sure what the legislators were looking at when they came up with that one.
Well, some
In that
compensation
context.
boards turn around and backfill. They use that back to blue to all tied or,
Yeah.
all bows.
Right.
And I mean, we'll give these guys all the credit in the world as our compensation board. They did not
Right.
to do that. They kept everything very, very, very separate. And there was quite a bit of integrity in that room, I believe.
Yeah, we appreciate all the hard work. I know how hard they work.
So we're gonna give you a pay increase.
I'm gonna double it.
Yeah.
Get it, get it in writing.
So then a follow-up
Did you
to
get
my
that
question,
writing over there?
as the supervisors, would you guys like to see a show your work to give you guys a more educated understanding of what each office
would.
does, so when the compensation board comes up and says, okay, the treasurer, here's the percentage that we're looking at for.
Because we haven't always gotten that. Sometimes I've asked and they should, I've seen it, but
So we would like it this time.
we would
Well,
like
it
it.
says
That way
that,
everybody's got all
we
the
have to-
information. they
We
need.
want to
have
work
to.
together.
Right.
We can't do that if we don't have all the same information.
well, and I know budget is tight,
Yeah.
and it's going to get tighter, probably.
Mhm.
So we need to be aware of what
Yeah.
you're thinking about too. So we can, we represent you, so we can do a fair representation at our meeting.
Perhaps we should just hope to be on your agenda following that meeting. And then we can just discuss it if you.
That's a good idea.
So that you can know, because it truly, we do crunch the numbers and.
Well, I think it's also beneficial to have the discussion in the public venue, obviously with our elected officials and other employees, but for folks that are online and listening and watching and, you know, because it's always different on the outside looking in than it is on the inside looking out.
Absolutely.
Well, I can voice opinion as to my first year on the compensation board, I was overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I had no clue until we had representatives coming in and talking about what each office did. And representing this board was like, wow, I had no clue all that you did. It took me about 3 years to totally understand everything that was going on. So a new representative for each of these two offices that we have openings for, they will have a learning curve.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure it's easy for them to understand, because it's complicated. It really is.
I'd
You
like-
guys are really complicated because of
Yes.
everything that you're involved in,
Yes,
so.
tremendously.
Got your fingers in so much, and I don't think people realize how much the supervisors do for this county. I'm
I-
not saying that to butter you up, but it's just, it's a fact. And a lot of people don't
She
know
wants
that.
a
And
raise.
there's always
Yeah,
something new that comes
up.
up.
Okay.
But it's, I wish the
She gets a double
county,
raise.
I wish the county could hear the presentations that we hear.
Yeah.
That's what I was just.
Maybe we could do that.
Would it be
Because-
possible to just have everybody do it? I mean, like I did it, and then it's another 3 years before I'm supposed to
could,
again. A
right.
lot can happen within 3 years.
Right.
And
What we could do is give everybody, what, 10, 15 minutes? How many? It'd be what, 5?
We had, I think, set a 10-minute limit, I think, for.
We never hit it,
presentation.
yeah, but yeah.
But you could give us a limit, and I like that, because that way everybody could hear,
Mhm.
because things change from year to year. You know, there's new legislation that affects all of us in
There's
different
6
ways.
elected offices. And that, by doing that, that gives the supervisors an opportunity to discuss as well, and the other elected officials. That way, there isn't that look out there. I mean, I know you guys have taken 0 the last couple of years, but there isn't that. You know, we're coming to you, you guys are coming to us, we're unilateral,
Yeah.
so to speak.
I think an important message here is that our supervisors listen and they consume the information brought to them. And they too, with due diligence, try to come up with something that can work for everybody. And we appreciate that.
And that's why I'd like to do this early in the budget this time and try that and see if that just helps everybody, because we know we're all gonna have to find room in every budget in the county, but our people are our assets.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And we've been blessed with some very visionary, hardworking people in our courthouse, for our county, and that's essential in today's world.
So would we do that here?
We could,
We have a way to transmit.
yeah, when we resume it.
What do you think?
Would you do that prior to our compensation board meeting?
What do you think? I don't know.
That would be the presentation. for us too, so
Oh,
it could be the whole
absolutely.
compensation.
Do you want to
We
do
have
all
a
at
room,
once?
we have a room full,
We've got room.
but have all the compensation board listen? Is
We
that
can go on
possible?
via, we can go on via Zoom as well, I mean, you don't have to all be in the room, but
No, but we could have a schedule, but we could.
sure.
But
If you
people,
want to do that, I think it'd be important for our entire compensation board to be here to hear it. That way we wouldn't have to repeat it. I'm
Well-
thinking out loud, not really thinking through this.
when
but
you meet, do you meet all day or is it?
No,
So could we start like on the 6th and do the
That was
presentations?
my thought, yes, we're
Yeah,
sitting
and then-
here.
yeah, that would
do
work.
Then we all
um,
leave and somehow you're just gonna have to hold us to 10 minutes or whatever you decide. Let us know what, 10 minutes?
now would our compensation board meet here or do we go where we have to
Well,
involve?
we could come here for the presentations and you could go wherever you wanted. You could
Right.
stay here, or you could go.
We could, check on the meeting room. and see
Well,
if it-
Well,
There's no reason why they-
Well, we can still walk over
There's
too.
no reason why they can't meet here.
Whatever you prefer.
Well, I think here's a good place, then you folks are all coming here, everybody else is here. It won't take that much additional of their day's work if they're not having to travel someplace.
Well, and again, they can always, if you're in here, you can always zoom in.
Right, already set up.
Yeah, and we can Zoom their presentations. I don't know, do you want to Zoom everything afterwards or no? Probably
No.
not.
I don't
And
think
that's
so.
fine.
We
We haven't
probably
before.
Move on to do our work then,
Yeah,
but I think
And
the
that's
date
fine.
is good, that gives.
because you're
some
not
time.
elected officials.
We would slip out.
Right,
And that way, if you had to have somebody here in the office, you wouldn't be in the way. We already have a meeting room set up somewhere else, so.
That's fine.
But we could.
So what time do you want to
Just
do?
meet at what, 8? We originally said 8:30 or 9. What we find is
I
that.
think nine.
Nine.
People, but, what works best for you, because everybody else is already here in the building, it would just be a matter of getting the board members here.
So how do you want to do the supervisors? I know in the past, I've done the presentation. Do you want one of us? Do you want us each to do 3 minutes?
It's whatever works for all of you, because you would be the experts on what your individual assignments are, what you work on.
I'm not big on beating my drum.
Well,
I just.
it's information though, for
That's true.
people to understand.
Right.
And if they don't hear it or see it, they don't know. You know, when we're talking about mental health, for instance, and the work you folks all do in order to,
Oh, that's changed now.
okay. And
But by the
without
same
any
token,
money.
we are working through some issues with Jackson Point, so that's.
Okay.
So see, you can talk about that.
Well, and bringing up about the ambulance. And that's important because
Yep.
that's something everybody's interested in.
Right.
And some of the committees that you're involved in,
Mhm.
that involve residents here in the county. That I did not know all those different committees that you are supposed to be a part of. That was an eye opener
From
for
the
me.
state on
Yeah,
down, in order
So
to have
that-
representation.
Just an information as to what your job is and maybe the highlights and a little bit about budget possibly. I don't know, but you
We
want-
probably won't have too much on budget yet,
yeah.
but we may, who knows?
So what day are we doing
It's
this?
a Monday,
December
December 6th.
Isn't that a Friday? It's a Friday.
Oh, it is a Friday. I'm sorry. I'm on Monday today. It is a Friday.
At 9 o'clock here.
Mhm.
Would you want a, schedule for presenters? So
Yeah, I
wanna
think that'd be
do-
helpful.
And how can we best work through that?
You want me to do that?
That
when
would be
doing the packets?
fantastic, thank you.
Thank you, Abby.
You would have ready access to everybody.
If you want to talk about Jackson Point at that, you can do that.
Well, we may have,
We may have more
yeah,
information
well,
by
we may
then.
have. We should have. All our bids are supposed to be in on the 14th of next month, so,
Okay,
right?
do you have anything you want to talk about?
Anything you want me to talk about? I could talk all day.
Oh, heaven,
Yeah, you'll have,
Well, you'll have to
Right
tell us
behind
what you want to
Johnny.
talk about.
let's eliminate her to
About
35 seconds.
Sheila,
I would, yeah, and then, but I'm serious, we're gonna have to cut it. I mean, we're gonna have to stick to it.
Work together as timekeepers, okay?
Yeah.
Abby can be the timekeeper.
And I would rather they ask questions. I mean, I'll provide information and then you got follow-ups. That's,
Okay,
That's a good idea.
how about if I do a little short overview
there she
and
goes.
then.
That's a disparaging remark. It's short,
Uh,
necessary.
You
She
use
wasn't
that
talk-
word
she
more
was
than
not
I
talking about
do.
you, Lee.
Oh, okay. What?
I didn't even look at you.
Is she wearing heels? No, okay.
And then we'll just go to anything special anybody wants to say.
Okay.
And then they need are the two.
Yes, we
two new
need
members.
two new members, so
So-
we'll need to know who they are. Contact them as well.
And, it's the
The
recorder.
recorder and the auditor are the two that need
I know, I
representatives.
talked to Kelly Friday. Thing. She is looking, we threw out a couple of names while we were talking, so. But I'm sure she'll come up with somebody, but she is.
Thinking about
She-
it, good,
Yeah,
very good.
And we'll have some others that their term ends next year. Well, you and I are us, yeah.
Well,
And
you'll
so-
have to
Congratulations.
reappoint who does 2 and 4, and it might make sense for one of you to go 2 and one to go 4, just guessing.
And of course, Tammy is completing, I think, Elizabeth's
Mhm.
term, so
So there'll be
Tammy Thomas.
three of us next year that would have to be worked with, whatever they're doing. That would work.
Right,
And actually, the recorders, Melville would have been done in 25 as well.
well, you can figure out the 2-year, 4-year thing.
You can. Because the information on the webinar certainly address that and how you
Mhm.
try to get that done so you can stagger it. Or it's accurate, it takes a while to come up to speed as this volume of information comes to you, so.
so Christie just give you.
Or however you want to do it, or go through Abby or whatever you want to
Yeah,
do,
okay.
because we can be in contact. We seriously miss Melva's abilities and her connection, and availability here in the courthouse
Okay,
for many things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
she
you.
always called
We
every
shall
year.
be
She
seeing
always
you.
called.
anything else? Thanks.
Thanks for doing what you guys do. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. It's really an honor to be able to do these things. And I was kind of afraid that I needed to sweeten the pot for all of you today. So happy Halloween. Oh, one bag looks smaller. That's
I'll take
yours.
that one.
It's short, I know.
I'll take a small
Oh,
See, they get it already.
I know, I know.
See
you later.
Thank you. Thanks.
Obviously, they're vying for higher wages yet. 3 times, yeah.
Christie, way to go. You'll be just fine.
All right, make committee
Mark.
reports. You have committee reports,
I was
Suzie?
wondering where Abby's was. There it is.
That's from me to you.
She can have mine too.
You can put mine in the dish.
Wait, come on,
All right.
mine. Oh, yeah. I'm not gonna take it from Lee.
No, I'm gonna throw it.
Okay.
Yay, they can
Okay.
catch.
There you go.
Committee reports.
Let me see, what have I done? Well, Extension Council met where we've got some work to do to be a little more compliant with the Iowa State University. And we'll be having ongoing meetings about that. Thursday, I went to the manufacturer's luncheon. Dee was there as well. I had to leave at 12:30 because I was also helping with the T-shirt handout and stuff they my Ascension at high school. Which was very long, very worthwhile. We were there 3 hours.
I went to the documentary yesterday. It was good. Okay, Monday I had Grove Fairfield, which is formerly PETA, annual meeting. A lot of focus on housing. They're working on. Tuesday was opioid work through. Still just kind of trying to get some ideas for RFPs and hoping people will come up with their own for that. Anything else?
I was just gonna say that I did mention, because we had a city council work session over the weekend, and Grove Fairfield was there talking about housing, and I said, well, if we can figure out, you know, something, and I just kind of discussed what we've been talking in the opioid meetings about
Mhm.
with housing and maybe opioid funding and.
Good, because we've talked about some kind of a sober house or whatever you call it, transition housing.
Maybe Jackson Point, maybe, you know,
Yeah.
just getting the word out there that it's possible to maybe find the overlap.
Speaking of Jackson Point,
Uh-huh.
what year was the county home closed?
Well, it would have been after Jackson Point was built. John Kuster had it. It was private.
Was it like in the 80s?
No,
No.
it would have
90s?
been 15, 16 years ago.
Okay,
Right.
So not 50 years.
well, the reason, because I had a question about the cemetery, which Elizabeth's working on, but she asked
Okay.
me and I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure. We'll ask. Okay.
Yeah, so the county home, long before any of us ever got here, but the county home transitioned from a county home to a private operation through rest care.
Right.
And then in ensuing conversations, and when or how those conversations started, I don't know. But that's how the idea of Jackson Point came to fruition. Once Jackson Point was opened, a number of those residents that were there were transitioned to Jackson Point. And then at some point, the building just kind of languished out there and didn't do anything. And as we're all aware of at this point, at some point, then the Porters came along and they were farming that land and stuff and said, hey, we'd like to buy the building. And so I was here when they bought the building, and then we auctioned off that round figures 607 acres and got 900 and some odd thousand out of that.
Yeah, that's right, when I started. Okay, and do you have any committees?
Yeah, I'll start with early childhood. Shortest meeting on record, I kid you not. I was running a little late and I didn't get in until about 10 after 4 and we were done by 4:30.
Goodness.
Yeah, so pretty straightforward, Tammy. The longest part of it was the community plan. It had to be voted on. It was something that, I don't know what you want to call it, the committee that I was appointed to. We worked on that community plan and they had to submit it. So that was pretty much, we'd have probably been done by 4:15 if it hadn't been for that. And then I had RPC and nothing earth shattering there. Some of the projects are starting to wind down, but I asked the question about our communities, our cities, and even the county. A lot of the projects that we do require match money. And so I had some concern about whether or not these projects would be able to go forward, given the legislation and the ability for counties in particular, but in some cases, whether cities would be able to come up with matching funds in these CDBG grants and so on and so forth. Nobody really has an answer to that question. Chris didn't seem overly concerned at this point in time, but we right now don't have any specific projects in the pipeline, so I guess I'll know later. Then I had hazmat, and for me, the biggest discussion centered around,
Excuse me.
and I never thought about this being a hazmat problem, but solar field fires. And apparently what's happening is that these entities that build these solar farms contract with the local fire departments. within whoever has jurisdiction in that specific area. So we've decided, to try and to reach out to contact persons and have joint meetings regarding how this is going to be facilitated moving forward. In other words, we believe it should involve emergency management. We believe that it should involve hazmat. But then I thought about Elizabeth actually, and the fact that we've talked about since we finished our wind ordinance, that we need to start working on solar farm ordinances. And one of the things that we probably are going to have to build into that is requirements, at least with our local fire officials and our emergency management and stuff, a plan and an understanding of how these things are going to be handled, and then where these products are going to go. So anyway, evidently there's been some issues out there. So that was the most interesting thing that came out of that. And that 1015 transit, pretty straightforward. We're in need of drivers, but we're also in need of vehicles. And it sounds counterintuitive, but just very, very quickly, Susie's well aware of this. Our buses and stuff, we have what's called a useful life requirement. And the state establishes that and the FTA established that. So we have buses that have tons and tons of miles on them, but they haven't met the useful life requirement yet in terms of age. The other problem is that we have what I would call contracts with the state to purchase new vehicles. We just can't get the buses. It's, kind of like the ambulances, year and a half, 2 years out. But what we are looking for, what we are doing is we're what's the word I'm looking for? Trolling for
That's such a good word.
vans with wheelchair access. Can't think of the name I want to say. So we bought several used ones. Dakota, our mechanic, chief mechanic, and either Shane or Jay, they go review these. In fact, I think there's one out here maybe over by Preferred Auto, but anyway, so we're looking for those wheelchair access minivans, because we use those a lot to go to Iowa City and other doctor's appointments and that sort of thing. Because even those are very hard to come by and they take a while to get. So if you happen to know of anybody that's looking to dispose of one, please give us a call and we'll take that ball and run with it. RPA, I had after 1015 transit. We updated our Title VI program and limited English proficiency plan, but anyway, the biggest thing for me was the status update on STPG SWAT program. I sent Dwayne some information regarding that. I was pretty sure he had it. Obviously, he's on the TAC committee, but I wanted to make sure.
All righty. Do we have any claims today?
Anywho,
Claims and reports?
That one.
So this is just the roads department claims. Any more than that?
she's been doing better regarding the attacking commando deer. She's
If I was you, I'd be really careful. She has a weapon there. She could kill.
I knew she was into it because Saturday when I was here to do ghost hunting, she was dressed in camouflage, so it's all good.
What?
There's your
Because of
ghost that closed the
the
door.
attacking commando deer.
Oh, dear.
Are we going to announce?
You amount?
Yeah,
You want to make a motion?
motion to approve claims and reports in the total of $18,357.25.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I would like to ask that we have a road tour. I'd like to see the detour
Okay,
of the.
I put it on last week and
Are we
you guys
gonna go
didn't
on a
want to
detour?
go.
Is that what we're gonna do? Detour, muddy road ahead, detour. There is a real.
No, I think I'd like to drive,
Okay.
us to drive where there have been.
Okay, we can put it back on. All right.
But I assume that would be after the election at this point.
Yeah,
Well, we can't get to it now because the bridge is closed.
If you ever good.
we'll figure it out.
Swim the river, Lee.
Wrong answer, Kemosabe.
I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thanks, everybody.